Have you ever wondered why that drink at the end of the day feels so, well, almost inevitable? We're about to break down the surprising science behind that exact feeling. And, more importantly, I'm going to show you how to outsmart your own brain.
You know that feeling, right? The workday is finally over, you shut the laptop, and somewhere between the desk and the kitchen, that little thought just shows up. It doesn't even feel like a big decision. It's more like this quiet, automatic pull that a drink would just make this moment better.
Now here's maybe the most important thing to get right off the bat. If that pattern sounds familiar, it is not, I repeat, not a failure of willpower. This isn't about your character, it's about your biology. See, your body clock, your hormones, your brain chemistry, they all team up in the evening to create the perfect storm for a craving. You didn't choose this, your biology did.
So let's get into it. What is actually happening inside your head that makes the evening so much trickier than the morning? The answer is pretty fascinating. And honestly, it's the key to changing this whole pattern for good.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the clock on the wall. It turns out that time of day itself is a massive biological trigger, and it has nothing to do with just unwinding after work. It goes way deeper than that.
So get this, your brain at 8 a.m. is not the same machine as your brain at 8 p.m. Not even close. In the morning, your prefrontal cortex, think of it as your brain's CEO, is fully caffeinated and in control, making smart decisions and swatting away bad impulses. But by evening, your internal body clock, your circadian rhythm, literally flips a switch. It naturally dials down your inhibitions and cranks up your brain's reward-seeking system. You are biologically primed to want rewards more and resist them less, just because the sun went down.
And on top of that, think about willpower like a muscle. You've been using it all day long. In meetings, dealing with emails, sitting in traffic. So trying to fight off a powerful craving at 7 p.m. with sheer grit, that's like asking an exhausted air traffic controller at the very end of their shift to handle the trickiest landing of the day. It's not a character flaw, it's a design problem.
So what can you actually do about this tonight? Try this. Don't fight the craving. Just notice it. The second you feel that first little flicker, just look at the clock. That one simple action shifts you from being inside the craving to being a scientist who is observing the craving. That tiny shift in perspective, that's where all the power is.
All right, so now we know when it's happening, but let's go a little deeper into the brain's chemistry to understand the what. What is really driving that powerful feeling of wanting?
Okay, so this part is crucial, because I think most of us have dopamine all wrong. We think of it as the pleasure chemical. It's not. It's the wanting chemical. It's the engine of motivation. It's the gas in the tank that makes you get up off the couch and go get something. And that little distinction, well, it changes everything.
And this is a brilliant illustration of what happens. See, the first time you had a drink after a long day, the dopamine hit when the alcohol actually arrived. But your brain is smart. It learns. After a few times, that dopamine spike starts to move earlier and earlier and earlier. It goes from the drink itself to the sound of the bottle opening, all the way back to the earliest possible cue, like your hand touching the front doorknob. So the craving you feel isn't a request for pleasure. It's your brain making a prediction that alcohol is about to show up. The craving is just the feeling of an unmet prediction. So next time that urge hits, try this little brain hack. Narrate what's happening. Literally say it out loud, "Oh, right, my dopamine system is just making a prediction." Research from Yale actually shows that this simple act of naming the mechanism, it's called cognitive reappraisal, can measurably dial down the intensity of the craving. You aren't the craving. You're just the person watching the system run its program.
Okay, so we get the wanting part. But what about that feeling of calm and relief that alcohol seems to give? Well, it turns out that calm comes with some pretty high-interest debt.
Think of your brain as having a brake pedal, which is called GABA, and an accelerator pedal called glutamate. Alcohol basically comes in and just slams on your brain's brakes, giving you that instant, moments of quiet. But your brain always wants balance. So to fight back against this artificial calm, it starts to weaken your natural braking system and turns up the volume on the accelerator.
And that artificial calm, it feels great for a minute, but it comes at a pretty significant hidden cost that just keeps compounding over time.
This is honestly the best analogy I've ever heard for it. Alcohol is like a credit card for calm. You get an immediate 30-minute loan of relaxation. The problem is, you're borrowing it from tomorrow's stress budget. Over time, this actually raises your baseline level of the stress hormone cortisol. This makes you feel more anxious overall,
which of course makes that evening drink feel even more necessary. It's a perfect trap.
Want to see this in action for yourself? Become your own little data scientist for a few days. Tonight, track the whole transaction. Just rate your stress on a scale of 1 to 10 right before your usual drink time, then again 30 minutes later, and then once more the next morning. You'll stop seeing just the temporary dip in stress and start seeing the full 24-hour cost of that loan.
So we know the why. Now let's talk about the how. Why does this whole evening ritual feel so automatic, so completely choiceless? Well, the answer is in the architecture of habit.
We've all heard about the habit loop, right? But here's the part we usually get wrong. The cue for the evening drink isn't the thought, I want to drink. No, the real cue is unconscious, and it's environmental. It's the sound of your keys on the counter, it's sinking into that one specific spot on the couch, it's the time on the clock. By the time you consciously notice the urge, your brain's 90-second autopilot program is already up and running.
And here's the secret. It is so much easier to disrupt the cue than it is to fight the routine once it's started. Don't wait until you're already standing in front of the fridge. Tonight, just change one tiny thing before the program starts. Enter through the back door. Go sit in a different chair. Just these tiny little disruptions are enough to break the autopilot before it can even take off.
And all of this brings us to the most empowering idea of all. You don't have to spend your energy fighting your evenings. You can actually redesign them.
And the rewards for making that shift are huge. We see this all the time in the data from millions of Reframe users. When people change just this one evening habit, the positive effects just cascade. It all starts with sleep. An incredible 87% report better sleep, which then leads directly to more energy the next day and, surprise, surprise, less anxiety.
See, what you're really doing is you're inverting the whole cycle, that vicious cycle of drinking, which leads to poor sleep, which leads to higher stress, and even stronger cravings. It doesn't need to be defeated, it just needs to be reversed. And by breaking just one link, you kick off a virtuous cycle. No drink leads to better sleep, which means lower stress the next day, which makes the next evening even easier. It becomes a self-reinforcing loop, finally spinning in the right direction.
So let's end with this one thought. What if this entire time you haven't been fighting a personal weakness at all? What if you've just been running on a biological program that's waiting for a few simple strategic updates? Your craving isn't some character flaw you have to defeat. It's just a system waiting for a better design.